Welcome to the Red Wagon, a podcast for employees and friends of Children's of Alabama. I'm Tiffany Kazarowski, and today we're talking about a brand new program at Children's that's been developed within the last year. You may have heard about it. It's called PEDS, or Peer Encouragement During Stress. And I'm here with Beth Rocker, who is a social worker and counselor here, and she is the team champion for the PEDS Peer Responder Team. So Beth, tell us what PEDS is all about. What is it exactly?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Tiffany. It's great to be here. PEDS, as you mentioned, is an acronym for Peer Encouragement During Stress, and it's a peer support program designed to promote resilience and then reduce stress and distress among our employees here at Children's. So no matter where we work in the hospital or what our role is, we know that we're all faced with stressful, with difficult work situations really on a regular basis.
Right.
And our reactions to stress can really have profound consequences for ourselves, for our patients, for our organization as a whole. And so providing peer support to healthcare workers following these distressing events not only promotes our well-being as employees, but also facilitates a safe and healthy work environment.
Yeah, and absolutely would also have to do with your home environment as well.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're under a lot of stress at work, that can definitely lead to stressful situations at home.
Absolutely, and vice versa. And sometimes those things compound on one another.
Now tell me what the official goals are for the PEDS team.
Yeah, that's a great question. We have 4 main goals for the program. The first really is to increase awareness of what's called the second victim phenomenon in healthcare's high-risk environment. And you might be asking, wait, what is the second victim phenomenon? Well, a second victim is a healthcare provider who's involved with a patient-related adverse event or medical error, and as a result, they experience emotional and sometimes even physical distress. In fact, a couple years back, there was a survey done here of employees who had been in some way involved in a patient safety event, and over 50% of these employees reported that they had troubling memories of that patient and what happened to that patient even long after the event itself. Many of them even had thoughts of leaving their job or even leaving their profession as a healthcare worker altogether.
And that was all here at Children's?
That was at Children's, yes. Wow. And that's consistent nationally, even globally, with those types of realities. And so we want to shine a light on that reality and just bring to the awareness within our organization that this is common. It's common for healthcare workers to experience distress following adverse events, and it's common for those things to have an impact on us in some really profound ways. Our second goal is to provide multidisciplinary one-to-one peer support in a non-judgmental environment. It's been proven that providing this support following these adverse events really decreases that distress and helps employees bounce back and promotes their resiliency in getting back to work, and then also promotes a safer environment. So we want to provide that multidisciplinary one-to-one peer support in that non-judgmental environment. Okay. Thirdly, we want to equip our employees with healthy coping and resiliency strategies to promote their well-being. And then finally, we want to reassure and guide our employees so that they continue thriving in their roles.
And then is that part of your mission and purpose statement as well?
Yeah, all of those goals are kind of wrapped up into our mission statement. Our mission statement is to provide timely, confidential peer support to Children's employees who experience stressful patient or job-related events or workplace violence. And so we've kind of extended out beyond just a patient event or a safety event, but really any kind of stressful or distressing event within the workplace environment. That's kind of what we want to provide support for.
All right, so we've talked about what it is and what some of the goals are and the purpose. Let's back up and unpack the history a little bit. So how did all of this come to be, that we have this group of 35 people now who are part of the peer response team?
Well, it was about 2 years ago. Members of our performance improvement patient safety team were at a patient safety conference. And during that conference, a team from Johns Hopkins Hospital presented their newly implemented Caring for the Caregivers peer support program. And our team was real intrigued by that and very interested in it. And so that patient safety team came back to Children's and presented this idea, and then also got some supporting data. That's where the survey that I referenced earlier got some supporting data to get approval for bringing a program like this to our organization. So they got approval, a steering committee was developed and put in place, and then the team from Johns Hopkins early last year came and presented some training to our steering committee in terms of developing and implementing a program like this. And then from there, our steering committee met weekly for most of last year. We were planning for implementation aiming at a program launch date of April of this year. We started our peer responder recruitment efforts toward the end of last year, had all of our peer responders in place and trained by February. And then even though COVID did disrupt our plans just a little bit, as it did with many things around our organization, we did launch in April and have had peer responders ready, in place, on call 24/7 since then.
That's amazing. So yeah, a little bit of a journey from 2 years ago to now, but I think that's a pretty short amount of time to be able to put something into place like this, recruit everyone that you need, and be able to promote it to all the employees.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been really pleased with the process, and taking the amount of time that we did really ensured that we had the right pieces in place, the right people in place, and then that, people around our organization were educated about what this program is, and especially our managers and supervisors and things, getting all their buy-in and everything has been really important as well.
So tell me some of the situations that an employee would encounter where a peer responder would be necessary, or where you could call a peer responder.
Absolutely. So just simply put, really following any stressful or distressing work-related event or situation. So let me unpack that a little bit. So this could be a safety event, okay? It could be, a patient escalating to a higher level of care, or an unexpected complication, that kind of thing. It could be an upset family member. It could be conflict in the work environment. It could be multiple of these types of situations that kind of compounding leads an employee to experience distress. Some people might be asking, well, how do I know if I'm experiencing this distress that you're talking about? Which is great. So you might be noticing that you're having headaches, that you're having stomach problems, might be having difficulty sleeping, difficulty concentrating. Maybe you're just feeling a little bit more angry or irritable than usual, or sad or isolated, maybe a little anxious, even fearful about returning to work for your next shift, that kind of thing. And if you've experienced a stressful or difficult situation like this, or any of these stress reactions, we really want folks to reach out for help and contact a peer responder. We have peer responders that are trained, they're specially trained to connect you with other resources also that might be helpful.
And you said it's not just something that could happen with a patient or patient family, but even, a situation with a coworker. We have coworkers who pass sometimes,
Exactly.
and that can be very stressful on that team.
Yeah, absolutely. Any kind of stressful situation that happens on the job, and that's pretty far wide ranging. It could be just even observing things. We want to make this program available to every layer of our organization. So not just those that are at the bedside directly caring for patients, but even those who are providing different support services and that kind of stuff, because we're all affected in some way.
Absolutely. And you talked about the diversity, the makeup of the peer responder team. So talk about the multidisciplinary team.
Yeah, so our peer responders are children's employees from all over the organization, all different disciplines, all different departments, different shifts. We have folks who are nurses, who are nurse practitioners. We have IT engineers, lab technician, chaplains, social workers, respiratory therapists, OT, PT, pharmacists, unit clerk. You name it. We've got folks represented from all over the organization. We have 35 responders on the team, as you mentioned, and they rotate being on call 24/7. They are specially trained, so they've received some special training to provide this peer support. And it's important also to know that when an employee contacts a peer responder, that support that's provided is completely confidential. So anything that is discussed in the context of that peer response is completely confidential.
So tell me, just personally for you, what drew you to this program? And, after hearing about it when that group went to the conference a couple of years ago, what made you want to become the team champion?
Well, I think my heart and my passion for caring for people probably influenced it the most. Being in the healthcare environment, I've only been in healthcare for about 5 years, but realizing and seeing the need for caregivers to be cared for. And we often overlook that. And so kind of from a counselor, social work background and perspective, that just really drew me to the program, wanting to be involved in providing that support for our employees. Because we know that when our caregivers are cared for, they're going to provide the best care for the patients and the families that we're entrusted with each day.
That's right. Yeah, if you're well-rounded and you feel good about yourself, then obviously you'll be able to come to work each day ready to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then also, we talked about this before, but a lot of times people feel like it might be a sign of weakness to ask for help, and it's just not true.
Right. Yeah.
You guys are there to help along the way.
Absolutely. And if there's one thing that I could get across to all of our employees, it is that very thing, that it's okay to ask for help, that it's okay to be affected by the things that happen on the job. I think, we do think that showing emotion is a sign of weakness, or, being affected by if we make a mistake, if something goes wrong, whatever it might be, that if that gets to us, then somehow we're deficient or less than we should be. And that's just not true. And so we want people to know, and I want people to know, that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to need help. It's okay to be affected. And it's when you reach out for help and get that support, really, that you become the best person that you can be.
Absolutely. And like you said, 50% of people who were surveyed said that they were definitely experiencing some anxiety and some stress because of an event.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's people who were honest on a survey like that.
Right.
I would imagine that it could be even higher than that, the percentages of folks that have some distressing responses to situations. And we don't want anything to hinder us in our work and hinder us in our lives. And so providing some support, immediately following an event like that is really helpful, has been shown to be really helpful.
Yeah, and can provide some balance for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about how to contact your team. You've got several different ways. So listen up, everybody. Okay, you've got your phone number, which is 9100, well, just the main hospital number,
Right.
9100. They can page the peer responder on call, right?
That's right. So the easiest way to contact a peer responder is just call the hospital operator, 89100, and ask them to page that peer responder on call. And then that peer responder will then contact you at the number that you provide.
And then they can also go through SmartWeb, right?
That's right. Yeah, you can log on to SmartWeb and just pull up the on-call schedule for that day and then scroll down to peer responder, and then you'll be able to send a page directly through SmartWeb to the peer responder on call.
Okay. And then the third way is the red wagon. There's a big banner on the landing page,
That's right.
And then also on the HR tab.
That's right.
Where do we go from the HR tab?
So if you're on the main red wagon page and you click on HR there on the top ribbon, and then over on the right, there's a tab that says My Wellness. If you just hover over the My Wellness tab, it'll drop down and you'll see a tab that says Peer Encouragement During Stress. Click on that and that'll take you to our site that gives tons of information about the program. There's a video highlighting the program.
Awesome.
And then also contact information. So what we're sharing here is also on that page as well.
Okay. And the fourth way is peerresponder@childrensal.org if you're an emailing person like me. So,
That's right.
And that's 2 R's, PEER, and then RESPONDER.
That's
so
right.
peerresponder@childrensal.org.
That's right.
All
Absolutely.
right. Well, thanks so much, Beth, for joining us today. Any final thoughts?
Thank you so much. Please call us. If you're in need of a little bit of support, please reach out to a peer responder. We're here to help. As our tagline says, we got your back.
All right. Thanks so much, Beth.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thanks for joining us for the Red Wagon Podcast.